Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah wa ba'an. So we continue and return to our lesson from this book, Hayatuna al-Usriya Bayn al-Waqi' wal-Ma'mul, our family life between the reality and that which is hoped for. For the past few classes, we've been discussing some of the mashakil and problems that occur, and the reasons for those problems, and a solution for those problems when they arise. And we mentioned up to this point 6 problems. The last lesson dealt with the issue of problems that occur from the husband as well as from the wife in a case of plural marriage. And so in this sitting, we're going to discuss 2 problems, 2 issues, 2 reasons rather for problems that occur within a marriage. And one of those issues, and this is as-sababu as-sabi' tadakhulu al-akharin fi mashakil az-zawjayn, is involving others within the problems that occur between spouses. Involving others in the problems that occur between the 2 spouses, where there may be family, maybe friends, whoever it may be, involving others into one's familial problems. At times it adds to the problem. At times it doesn't bring about a solution, rather it adds to it. So Shaykh Muhammad Ghalib al-Umari mentions kullu usratin laha haqquha min al-khususiyya مما لا يليق ولا ينبغي أن يشاركها الزوجان مع أحد. That every family has specific issues that are connected to it, from that which is not proper and befitting that the 2 spouses involve anyone other than themselves. Now he says, and they should not allow others to interfere in those issues that occur between them. فَلَا يَحْكِيَانِ كُلَّ أَحْوَالَهُمَا لِلنَّاسِ. So they should not go and report everything that occurs within their household to the people. بَلْ يَنْبَغِي أَنْ يَحْفَظْ كُلَّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمَا سِرَّهُ عَنْدَ الْآخَرِ. Rather, what is proper and befitting is that each party, each of the 2 spouses, safeguards and protects and holds on to the secrets that he has with the other. وَتَكُنْ مَكَانَتُهُ مَعْلُومَةً وَمَوْصُونَةً. And that the makana, yani the status that each of them has with one another, is something which is known and therefore should be safeguarded and protected. فَتَحْفُظَ زَوْجَهَا فِي غَيْبِيَتِهِ. And so the wife, she protects her husband. She safeguards her husband, safeguards his image, safeguards his secrets, safeguards the affairs of his household in his absence. كَمَا تَحْفَظُهُ فِي حَضْرَتِهِ. Just as she would safeguard that in his presence. So the same respect and veneration that she shows him in his presence, she does not seek to belittle him in his presence and speak about his faults to him directly. Similarly, she does not do that to others. She does not do that in his absence. لِأَنَّهُ زَوْجُهَا. Because he is her husband. وَوَالِدُ أَبْنَائِهَا. And he is the father of her children. وَلَا تَجْتَمِعْ مَعَ النِّسَاءِ وَتَجْعَلْ زَوْجَهَا مَوْضُوعَ حَدِيثَهُنْ. And so she does not gather amongst the women and make her husband the subject of their conversation. فَلَا تُبْقِي مِنْهُ شَيْئًا. And so therefore she does not take away anything from him, nor does she belittle him, meaning in terms of his rights. وَكَذَلِكَ زَوْجٌ. Similarly the husband. If it is good for the goose, it's good for the gander, as they say. So it's not the case that the woman has to uphold all of this and the husband doesn't. Rather, similar for the husband. يَحْفَظْ لِزَوْجَتِهِ مَكَانَتُهَا. So he safeguards the status of his wife. He upholds that lofty status which she has. He says, وَلَا يَذْكَرْ مَا يُشِينُهَا وَمَا يُعِيبُهَا أَمَامَ النَّاسِ. He does not mention that which will sully her image, nor that which will shame her in front of the people. He doesn't mention shameful things about his wife to the people. لأنه ليس بالضرورة أن يكون كل قريب ناصحا يبتغي مصلحة الأسرة. Because it is not the case that every single relative, every single family member, is a nasih, is one who wishes well, sincerely, and wants to see the benefit of that family. Some people just want to hear your business. They just want to hear your business, and they want input into your affairs. So not everyone is a nasih, meaning not everyone sincerely wants good for your marriage, sincerely wants good for your family, and the likes of this. أو أن تكون نيته التوجيه والإرشاد. And not everyone's intention is to direct you towards that which is beneficial and to guide you. Again, some people just want to know. Just want to satisfy their curiosity which they have in their heart for what goes on in your house, what goes on with your children, what goes on with your husband and your wife. That's some people that like this. He says that ففي بعض من الأحيان ترى كثيرا من الناصحين هم أحوج إلى النصح والتوجيه. He says that, and sometimes you find that many of the nasihin, many of those who set themselves up as advisors to others, many of those who set themselves up to be coaches and to be advisors and counselors, the reality is that they are the most in need of that. They are the most in need of someone to counsel them and to coach them and advise them through life so that they can get their affairs in order. They're the most in need of that, but they set themselves up as what? Advisors, coaches, and counselors and the likes. The Shaykh, he says, فَلَيْسَ كُلُّ مَنْ أَصْغَى إِلَيْكَ سَمْعًا يَصْلَى أَنْ يُسْتَشَارَ. So not everyone who lends to you their ear to listen to your problems and listen to your affairs is suitable and fit to be consulted regarding familial problems and the likes. وَلَا كُلُّ مَنْ قَدِمَ عَلَيْكَ وَفَرِحَ بِأَنَّكَ شَارَكْتَهُ فِي الْخِلَافِ يَنْفَعْ أَنْ يَكُونَ مُرْشِدًا. And not everyone who is pleased and happy that you came to them to speak and to vent to them. Not everyone who is pleased with this is suitable to be consulted as a guide and as a coach. فَلَيْسَ كُلُّ مُسْتَشَارٍ. So not everyone who was consulted can be trusted with their consultation. وَلَا كُلُّ نَاصِحٍ صَادِقًا. And not everyone who sets themselves up as an advisor is a sadiq, is truthful in their advice. وَلَا يُمْكِنْ. It is not possible that anyone realizes the gravity of what goes on inside the household like the two parties that are involved. No one can really see the reality of what goes on. And we have to bear this in mind when we go and vent to others. We go and vent to those who are outside of our household. That this person, in reality, there's no way that they can know the reality of your affair. There's no way. They can listen to you, without hearing the other side, and there's no way that this person can really know the reality of what goes on between those two spouses, like the two spouses themselves. وَلِذَلِكَ عَلَيْهِمَا. And due to this, it is upon them to strive hard not to involve anyone else into their problems whenever possible. As much as possible, they try not to involve anybody else. They seek a solution between them. And this solution which they seek, without doubt, it can be found in the Kitab and the Sunnah. If only we relegate our affairs back to what is in the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Messenger alayhi salam, then we will find a solution to our problems. We will find a solution to whatever goes on between us. فَإِنْ كَانَ لَا بُدْ. If it is a must that you involve someone, if you must involve someone, وَعَلِمَ زَوْجَانِ مِن نَفْسِهِمَا, and the two spouses realize and they know that they are not able to quell and to resolve the issue on their own, then they must give that responsibility to an akh that is mukhlis, to a brother that is sincere, and to a friend that is nasir, that wants good for both parties involved, not one who's going to listen and be one-sided with what they hear because they have a vested interest. Perhaps they're a relative of one of the two spouses and they're on that spouse's side, win, lose, or draw. They're on that person's side and they don't care what the other person has to say. It doesn't matter what the other person has to say. They're going to take the side of their relative no matter what. You don't want to involve someone like this in your affairs, because they will aid you upon dhulm. They will aid you upon dhulm. If you know this to be the affair of your family, then don't involve them in your affairs. Rather, involve someone who will tell you when you're wrong. Someone who is a sincere friend to you. A sincere friend and a sincere advisor. Whether they are family or whether they are not family. You know they want well for your family. You know they want to see you and your spouse remain together, and to see your children being raised in a household with both of their parents. They want to see this for you and for your family, and they want good for you and for your family. This is the type of person. If you have to involve someone like this. Involve someone like this who can be impartial. He said that أو شخص يحب لأسرتهم الاجتماع وعدم الافتراق, or a person who desires for their family al-ijtima', that they stay together and they don't separate. This is what they want. Not that one who's going to tell you, oh girl, I wouldn't take that. Oh, I wouldn't take that if I was you. Leave her. And the likes of this. It's poor advice. Poor advice in most cases. Now, don't involve someone like this. Rather, someone who wants to see you stay with your family. Someone who wants to see longevity in your marriage. Allah Ta'ala said, فَابْعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهَا إِنْ يُرِيدَ إِصْلَاحًا يُوَافِقَ اللَّهَ بَيْنَهُمَا. So let them appoint an arbiter from her family and an arbiter from his family. If they want reconciliation, then Allah will give them success and He will rectify what is between them. He said, so if the muslih is from the family, if the one who is going to reconcile between the two spouses is from the family, meaning someone who has a close connection to both parties, then this is ad'a lijtihadihi fi hal al-khilaf bayna az-zawjayn. This is something which goes further in ensuring that there's going to be reconciliation and a remedy for the problem that occurs between the two spouses. Why? He says because this person who is close to the family in this way, he has shafaqah, he has compassion inside of his heart for the two parties that are involved. He wants to see them stay together. He doesn't want to see them separate. He loves them for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. Now, he has a connection to them. He said, and he desires al-istiqrar, he desires stability for their family. So if it is, for example, the mother of the wife, and she is the one who the wife complains to, regarding the problems. And if the mother is the type that will be diligent in rectifying her daughter and disciplining her and telling her to fear Allah Ta'ala, to honor her husband, and she gives her sincere advice, then in this case she is the type that can be consulted. And she should not be the one who وَلَا تَأْخُذُ الْأُمْ عَاطِفَتَهَا. She should not be swayed by the emotions of her daughter. She should not be swayed by the emotions of her daughter. وَحِنَانِهَا, and her whining. فَتُخَاسِمْ صَحْرَهَا مُخَاسَمَةً أَعْظَمَ مِنْ مُخَاسَمَةِ ابْنَتِهَا, such that she ends up getting to a point where she gets more riled up than the daughter did. She gets more riled up than the daughter, and the dispute becomes more hers than it is the daughter. But rather to عالج الأمور, rather she should strive to remedy the affairs by way of that which is necessitated by the legislation of Allah Ta'ala and His deen. Similarly is the affair of the other relatives of the two spouses, or the other friends of the two spouses. إن قدر الله عز وجل لهم أن يكون في مقام إصلاح فليكونوا مفاتيح خير. If Allah Ta'ala decrees that relative or that friend be in a position that they are sought to reconcile between the two spouses, they have an issue that they can't resolve on their own, so that friend is consulted, that advisor is consulted, that counselor is consulted, then let that person be a key to goodness, maghaliq shar, and a lock to evil. Let them block evil, and let them strive to bring about good. وَلَا يُسَاعِدُ الْبُيُوتِ عَلَى الْبُنْيَانِ لَا عَلَى الْهَدَمِ, and let them strive to aid and assist the homes such that they are upon building and not upon destruction. And this is by way of utilizing the legislated and beneficial means of counseling and advice. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لَيْسَ الْكَذَّابِ الَّذِي يُصْلِحُ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ فَيَمْنِي خَيْرًا أَوْ يَقُولُ خَيْرًا, that he is not a liar who rectifies between the people, and thus he may lightly exaggerate the good, or he may speak with a word of goodness. The people of knowledge, he said, قال أهل العلم أي أن يخبر بما علمه من الخير ويسكت ويكتم عن ما علمه من الشر, meaning that a person, he may have to get involved in someone else's affair, and he may utilize that which he knows of goodness, speaking with that only, not speaking with, rather concealing that which he may know of bad. So he may be aware of some bad from one of the two spouses, but in order to reconcile, he only speaks with the good that he knows, concealing that bad. Now, this person who does so is not considered to be a liar. He's not considered to be a liar for withholding information that may not be pleasing, only speaking with that which is good for the sake of rectification of what is between the two parties. Now, he says, Laysa kadhab, and this person is not a liar. Rather, this is called tawriya. It is tawriya. It is speaking with words which will nudge the person towards the best interpretation that can be brought about from your speech. Now, it is done with the niyyah of islah, of rectification. So this is the seventh issue, the seventh problem. And the remedy for that problem is not involving others into your affairs, as long as you can avoid that. Do everything that you can to avoid people getting involved in your issues. Wallahi, we get so many phone calls. And from some couples, multiple calls a month from one couple. Whereas there are other couples who haven't called me not one time since they've been married. Over a course of years. And without doubt, every marriage has issues. Every marriage has ups and downs and disagreements and problems. Every marriage. But it is a delight to the heart when you know that the couples are striving their level best to, whatever occurs between them, work it out and resolve it between themselves. So this is what is desired. First and foremost, that you resolve the issue between yourselves and don't involve anyone. Don't just vent to sisters. Don't just vent to your brothers about your spouse. Knowing full well you want to stay with the person. Knowing full well you're going to stay with that person. And now you done aired this person out in the masjid, spread their affairs amongst the community, spoken about them with evil amongst the community. You vent to your sisters and she go and what? Tell her husband. You vent to your brothers and what happens? He go and he tells his wife. So now, a month later, you've resolved the issue and you're still with the person. But this person that you're still with, you dogged him out in the masjid. And you can't unsay something once you said it. So it's out there. So try to resolve the issues as much as you can without involving anyone. And if you must involve someone, then involve someone who can be trusted with your information, who sincerely wants good for you. And in their sincerely wanting good for you, they will tell you when you're wrong, even if that person is your friend. They will aid and support the one who is correct. And they will advise sincerely from the heart, wanting good for you, for your spouse, for your family, for your children. As Sababu Thamin, the eighth issue that leads to problems. The eighth means or reasons that lead to problems in a marriage, and we're going to suffice with this one. ضعف شخصية الرجل is the man having a weak constitution. The man having a weak constitution, it leads to problems in the marriage. Allah Ta'ala said within his book, الرجال قوامون على النساء, that men are the authority figures over the women. Men are the authority figures over the women. Sometimes you see it translated as protectors and maintainers. All that is included in that. He is her imam. He is her leader. He is her, the one who disciplines her when she gets out of line. He's the one who maintains her. He's the one who protects her. He is her amir. قال ابن عباس في قوله عز وجل قوامون أي أمراء عليهن. Ibn Abbas, he said concerning the statement of Allah Ta'ala that they are the qawamun, men are the qawamun. Ibn Abbas, he said I umara alayhin, that men are the leaders over the women. They are the rulers over the women. وذكر ابن كثير رحمه الله, Ibn Kathir said, meaning الرجل قيم على المرأة وهو رئيسها, meaning that the man, he is the authority over her. He is her ra'is. He is the head of the household. He is the leader. وكبيرها, he is her senior. He is her senior, even if she is older than him. But he is married to her, so he is her kabir. والحاكم عليها, he is the ruler above her. ومؤدبها إذا إعوجت, and he is the one who sets her right when she deviates. Due to this, he says, the Shaykh, he mentions, and it's the end of Ibn Kathir's statement, can be found in the Tafsir al-Quran al-Azim. Shaykh Muhammad Ghalib, he says that due to this, he says, the sifa of al-Qawama, that description of leadership, is from the rights of the man. It is from the rights of the man. Due to that which the man has with him, from those things that are specific to him, of strength and the ability to bear that responsibility, and thus he is beautified with these characteristics and qualities, making him the amir and making him the hakim, the ruler and the leader above that woman. And so when فَلَمَّا تَرَى الزَّوْجِ يَتَخَلَّى عَنْ هَذِهِ الصِّفَةِ, when you see the men beginning to, they lose these descriptions. They don't have those qualities within them. They have that da'af that the Shaykh, he mentioned, that weakness in their shakhsi, in their personality, and in their constitution. Once you see this occur, بِسَبَبِ ضَعْفٍ فِيهِ, due to a weakness that he has within him, أَوْ لِتَحَاوُنِهِ عَنْ تَحَمُّلْ مَسْئُولِيَاتِ بَيْتِهِ, or due to him being lackadaisical in bearing the responsibilities of his household. Some of the men, they're like this. Unfortunately, some of the men, they're like this. That they don't bear the responsibility of their household. They're not the maintainers of their wives. Rather, the wives are maintaining them. And they become comfortable in this position. Now, they don't bear the responsibilities of their household. They don't bear the responsibilities of their family. Then the evil effects of that become manifest. And they will lead to a lapse in the stability of his family. And you will see the saytara az-zawja ala al-manzil. You will see that the woman becomes the authority over the household. She begins to run the show. And when she runs the show, what occurs? The Messenger of Allah, alayhi salam, he said, no people will ever be successful who appoints a woman over their affairs. It's not her role. It's not her role. As the Shaykh, he describes it later, that the woman, when she runs the household that a man is in, is similar to a fish flying throughout the air. It's like a fish flying throughout the air. That's not where the fish belongs. It's not his natural habitat. It's not his role. Rather, the fish belongs where? In the water. That's where he thrives. That's where he survives. That's where he's on top. Right? When the woman runs the show, like the fish flying throughout the air. He said, فَهَذَانْ أَمْرَانْ. So these are two affairs that are connected to one another. فَمَا أَذِنَا لِلزَّوْجَةِ بِقَلْبِ الْمَوَازِينِ واتخاذ دور القيادة في البيت وتماديها في التسلط على الزوج وتبينها لصفة القوامة إلا. So the woman, she does not acquire this role of leadership in the household, running the household, having authority over her husband, having the qawama in her hand, except due to the daf fi zawj, except due to the weakness that is found in the husband. He said, Naam, and him allowing her to run the household instead of him, and him shirking his responsibilities and those things that are specific to him. He said, فَالْمَرْأَةُ الَّتِي تَأْخِذْ دَوْرَ زَوْجِهَا. So the woman who takes the role of her husband. وَتَحَاوَلَ أَن تَسْتَرْجِلَ. And she attempts to play the role of a man. She becomes manly. وَتَأْمُرْ وَتَنْهَى. She commands, she prohibits. حَالُهَا فِي الْحَقِيقَةِ كَحَالَ السَّمَكَ الَّتِي تُحَاوِلْ أَن تُطِيرَ فِي السَّمَاءِ. Then her condition in reality is like that of a fish that tries to fly in the air. He says, so the disparity between what she's doing now, meaning by way of her trying to run the show and being the head of the household and like this, between that and for what she's actually been created for, is great. And she won't thrive in that position. She won't thrive in that position. At least not while there's a man in that house. It won't work. It may work for some time, but the fitrah of the woman and the fitrah of the man, it will not allow that affair to work forever. Eventually, the man in him is going to come out. And it's going to bring about problems in that household. He said, and her doing so, her being satisfied with that and doing so and running the show, it is a type of harming of her husband. And the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تؤذي امرأة زوجها في الدنيا إلا قالت زوجته من الحور العين لا تؤذيه قاتلك الله. that no woman harms her husband in the dunya, except that his wife from amongst the Hurul Ain, amongst the maidens of paradise, she watches that and she sees that and she says, don't harm him, may Allah fight you. إِنَّمَا هُوَ عِنْدَكِ دَخِيلٌ. He is only a guest with you. He's only with you for a short time. يُوشِكُ أَنْ يُفَارِقُكَ إِلَيْنَا. And he's about to leave you and come to us. Don't harm him. So therefore the Shaykh, he says, it is not possible that the affair lasts if the situation is like this. Because it is not, again, the nature of the woman to run the household. Her role that she's been given by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is an important role. An important role. We spoke about some of that in the khutbah earlier today. And how the call to feminism, it goes against the fabric of the family unit. It seeks to destroy it. It seeks to break it down and reverse the roles and take away the status of the man and put it into the hands of the woman, and vice versa. That role which the woman has, that lofty and majestic role that she has as being the Amira inside of her home and in cultivation of the children and in seeing after the affairs of the home, the foundation, is a greatly important role. He says that, and her having that position and the man having the position that he has, due to what Allah Ta'ala has given him of strength, and due to that which is within her of weakness, and the weakness that she has is completed by way of the man, and their roles complement one another. It is not an aib upon the woman. The weakness that she has, that makes her have a need for the man, and the man likewise having a need for the woman, it's not an aib upon her. Rather, it is that which affirms her femininity, and it is that which makes her beloved to her husband. The husband doesn't want someone he has to contend with, going to stand toe to toe with him and contend with him. It's not something which is pleasing to the heart. So her femininity is what endears her to him and makes her beloved to him. And he says, وَلَا يُقْصَدْ بِهَذَا ذَمُهَا. It is not meant to belittle her or to take away from her status. Rather, the woman, he says, is a jawhara masuna. She's a protected jewel. A protected jewel. وَاجِبُ عَلَى زَوْجِهَا himayatuha. It is obligatory upon her husband to protect her and to safeguard her, وَإِنْفَاقَ عَلَيْهَا, and to spend upon her and to serve her with what is appropriate and other than this. So marriage, he says, and in the conclusion of this point, is اجتماع لذاتين جُعِلَ لكل منهما دور ومكان. It is the bringing together of two individuals. It's the bringing together of two individuals. And each of them has been given a role and a status and a position. فلا بد للزوجين الالتزام بالأدوار التي خص الله عز وجل كل منهما. So it is incumbent upon each of the two spouses to hold fast to and to safeguard that role that Allah Ta'ala has given them and specified for each of them. وعدم التعدي على دور الآخر, and not transgress upon the rights and the role of the other. So the man should not be content with taking upon himself the role of the woman, and the woman is not content with taking upon herself the role of the man. And we don't mean that convenient type of she wants to be the woman when it's convenient for her, and when it's not, she wants to be the rajul. La. Rather, she's content and pleased with what Allah Ta'ala has given her of position and status and the role and the responsibility that is upon her. And the man, he is pleased with that. He's pleased with being the man and providing for his family and taking and looking after the affairs and like this. He said that, and each of the two spouses are to help the other in the fulfillment of their responsibilities على الوجه الذي يراد الله عز وجل, in a manner that Allah Ta'ala is pleased with. And with this, the Shaykh, he concludes those two issues. So the seventh issue was what? What was the seventh problem, or the seventh reason for problems? Involving others in the problems that occur between spouses. Again, this is something which we want to try to stay away from as much as possible. Sometimes you may have to. Sometimes you may have to. But as much as possible, resolve the issues between yourselves. And if you have to involve someone who is impartial, who's going to tell you to fear Allah Ta'ala, and tell your spouse the same, and not take sides, and they want good for you, want good for your family, want to see your family stay together. They're going to give you advice in that regard. They don't want to see you separate from your spouse and break your family apart, have your children going from house to house and like this. This is the type of person who you involve if you have to. And the eighth problem, or the eighth reason was what? The man having a weak constitution. So the man has to be a man. And him being a man, it's not that, he beats on his chest, when he feels he's being challenged. Rather, that he fulfills the roles of fatherhood, of husbandry and manhood inside that home. He fulfills that role to the absolute best of his ability. And he does not take upon himself the role of the woman. He is not pleased that she has to step up and take upon his responsibility. Rather, he is fulfilling that to the absolute best of his ability inside of his home. So we have two more problems that we're going to discuss in the next sitting, inshallah ta'ala, before we conclude this section. And the next section after that, we go into the rights of the children, which is a very important portion of the book. And Allah ta'ala knows best. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.